Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Today I've got the menacing Ten of Swords as the obstacle and the world, the super card, I think, anyways, as the opportunity. So let's get into it here. The 10. Menacing stuff, right? Look at that dark sky. Kind of looks like maybe it's clearing on the horizon. Maybe that's sunrise after the long dark night of the Nine of Swords. This card concludes the journey or the part of the tarot that relates to ideas, abstractions, in a lot of ways, words and poetry and meaning, language as a weapon, and also just kind of conflict, cutting things, separating things. A lot of the actions you would associate with a sword, which really quite different from the kind of actions associated with something like a baseball bat. Like a wand, like a club. Nonetheless, I think this card looks way more terrifying than it needs to be. The Marseille card, kind of pretty puzzling. There's so many interesting interpretations of where these curved lines come from historically, what they represent. Did they represent swords or scimitars or anyways? I'm going to be talking about my interpretation here. As far as obstacles are concerned, I think this relates to, first of all, I think this is a card that describes the experience of looking out into the world and perceiving people impaled or pinned down, immobilized, and possibly hurt in the process of their interactions with ideas or opinions. And where the aces of the suits, I think, symbolize this moment of unlimited possibility and potential. You have an idea. I think of the aces kind of as you find your attention drawn to a particular direction, and then the rest of the suit is you moving towards that direction. I think the tens symbolize the end of the journey, reaching that goal. More often than not, it's not what you had in mind, not what you expected. The aces are just, like I said, they're an idea, they're a feeling, they're an urge towards something. But at the time of experiencing that inspiration or motivation, you don't really have any idea of how it's going to end up. And I kind of don't like the depiction on the Waite Smith card because it just makes it seem like reaching the pinnacle is not a desirable thing, right? I think all these cards have positive and negative interpretations, but this one, I feel like it's pretty hard intuitively to get over the warning of this card. Nonetheless, I think that this symbolizes the experience of witnessing an individual interacting with an individual that has completely devoted themselves to or has been consumed by an idea, a set of abstractions, or even the pursuit for some idea. But I think it's more likely that this is maybe representing an intellectual, not necessarily an intelligent person, but someone who is just all in on a particular philosophy. Maybe ideology would be a more appropriate term. Someone who's just all in, and this is a very static card. It's very ordered. It's not moving. It's not flexible. It takes probably something like a long time of existing in this state before you can transition to that next step to get an idea that it's the feelings that need to be pursued, not these cold abstractions. But but nonetheless, I in the short video I said that, in the something along the lines of, in the act of categorizing people that we encounter or that we learn about, um, in the act of categorizing them into groups, that are, organized by the beliefs they hold, the opinions they express, we can often forget that human beings are more than just opinion expressing entities, right? And in a lot of ways, I think this card symbolizes, or at least the kind of negative aspect of this card symbolizes how much your worldview can get stuck in this particular outlook, I guess I could say. Seeing everything as just an all-consuming dedication to some idea. There's a lot of people who just do things, and if you ask them why they're doing it, they wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, they might give you an answer, because they would feel like, no, it's pretty difficult to admit that you don't really know what the well-reasoned out, cause for your actions are. But so many people, especially people that are really masterful at something, they're just on autopilot. If you ask them why they're doing it, often they'll give you an answer because, like I said, they would feel weird saying, "I don't know, it's just what I do." Mind you, I think that's a type of self-awareness that I think is worth striving for. Somebody asks you why you do something. Like, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. How am I supposed to know why I do things? Anyways, but yeah. So I think that partially partially this card symbolizes, in the negative, being stuck in this outlook of only seeing people as agents or vessels of some idea, and there are plenty of other things that people are motivated by. They're not just loudspeakers for some viral ideology, for some rhetoric. Some people are moved by emotions. Some people by creativity. Some people have a very economic outlook on things that that involves very little abstraction of what things mean. And the second aspect of this as a potential obstacle or issue is that, you know the way we see the world ends up dictating what kind of narratives we can employ to describe ourselves and our situation and the role we play in the world. There's this belief that I hold pretty firmly that one of the best reasons, in my opinion, why you don't want to, for instance, steal or lie or do any of the quote unquote bad things or immoral things, is that, let's say with stealing, if you commit theft, on some level your view of the world, maybe just on a subconscious level, but your view of the world is updated to include yourself in the world as a thief now. So you know for a fact that at least one thief exists. And I think this can serve as a really just counterproductive foundation for then interacting with anyone else. Because if you know that you yourself are someone that steals, and you also probably think pretty highly of yourself, like most people think that they're good people or whatever, but if you found reasons to steal and you have explanations for it, it makes it pretty easy for your model of the world around you to just presume that stealing is a thing that probably most people do, right? Or lying or whatever else. Maintaining that type of innocence and naivete surely opens you up for all sorts of other risks, like not expecting people to be thieves or liars enough. In some situations, you'll certainly run into bad people, and if you're so innocent and naive that you can't imagine anyone doing anything bad, you'll get scammed or robbed or whatever. But yeah, there's the inverse, I think, applies very much, and I think we're much more likely to suffer from the consequences of the former example as from the latter. So, in regards to this card, I think that one of the counterproductive repercussions of classifying people into just these opinion holding beings. Oh, he's just and then insert political background or ideology or camp of thought or whatever. In doing that, you kind of set the stage for the world model that you interact with in your mind as a place where that's all that people are. And then it becomes pretty easy to only start thinking of yourself as someone who holds and expresses opinions and ideas, as opposed to maybe someone who is a creative individual or someone who has, passions and feelings or is motivated by relationships or is defined by relationships or defined by their physical activities. But yeah, so I think the warning here is like the the more liberties, the more dynamic range you attribute to your classifying of other people in the world, the more I think subconsciously you could allow yourself to, you know, the more freedom you have to move around and to define yourself, which then determines what kind of things you feel like you can or can't do. Um, but yeah, so careful, what you think of people affects how you see the world, and you are one of the people of the world, so ultimately your own judgments of others become reflected back onto you. And then the opportunity, the world. It's like the super card. So I like numerology, or at least there's some degree of numerology that I like to employ in the deck. For instance, I'll look at the magician and strength as being related to all of the aces of the major arcana. Like they're like first degree cards. So it's like the number 1 card, the number 11 card. I see those as being connected, and then all the aces are like, the 5 and the devil and the Hierophant or the Pope or whatever. And the world is kind of interesting because in one sense it's a 21, so it's kind of like the 1 card, but then also it's kind of a multiple of the 10, so it's kind of like a 10 card and a 1 card. This is just kind of my personal interpretation. It's not very I don't know, academic as far as tarot is concerned, but nonetheless, I think that this card is like the super holistic kind of ideal of the tarot. A lot of people interpret the tarot as the fool's journey. Uh, I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't completely reject it, but I think that in a lot of ways the tarot, or particularly the major arcana, could be seen as the journey of every single card making its way around. But the world seems, I don't know, the world stands out to me. It's kind of like I kind of see it as the yin yang symbol of the tarot deck. I kind of see it as like an index or some sort of meta card. And in the short video, I mentioned that in a lot of religions, the creator god is depicted as some sort of a dancer, or that there's an act of dancing involved in creation and often and destruction, right? Um, and I kind of see this card as being this, symbolizing the state of balance, but not a static kind of balance, the kind of balance that is generally symbolically depicted as the activities of a dancer moving between extremes, destroying, creating, submitting, dominating, leading, following, uh, being passive, being assertive, just playing within all those boundaries. I also mentioned that that there's a great scene from the movie Napoleon Dynamite that if you haven't seen, you should check it out because it's a dance scene that I just think is really kind of like hilarious and has a lot of heart and modesty to it. It certainly helps to see the whole movie to contextualize it, but um, yeah, just like a dorky kid really just becoming becoming the dance for becoming the act of dancing for a period of time, getting sort of lost in it, and yeah, the really kind of simple, straightforward, not too metaphysical opportunity here is like, when's the last time you danced? Like, and it doesn't have to be some sort of amazingly choreographed dance, but just like, move around, jump around, wiggle around, flail around, whatever. Um, just like that feeling, that experience of kind of losing yourself in that interplay of your body, the physical space you occupy, and the physical space of the world, and dancing is this like, it's playful, it's artistic, it's creative, and everything about it is a negotiation between where you are and the environment that you're in, coming closer and further away from things, you know, spinning around, facing different directions. Um, yeah, the really kind of simple opportunity is just to maybe ask yourself like, what's the what's that song, what's that track that just drives you crazy and just makes you break out into some sort of dance or uncontrollably. When's the last time you heard that? If you don't even if you don't even have that really obvious song, when's the last time you remember dancing? What was that song like? To seek out that experience as like something that you know on a simple level could just be a fun, enjoyable experience, but also, I mean, dancing for some people, particularly the individuals that are like professional dancers, but yeah, for some people this is like a sublime experience, right? And then on a higher level, metaphorically speaking, I think this card symbolizes the opportunity to start interacting with the world at large, in general, with that kind of attitude, outlook, playfulness, of symbolized in the dancer. Um, you know, you pursue things, things get away from you. You back off, things pursue you. You push on things, things resist. You pull on things. Like, just it really kind of reminds me of the kind of outlook on life that is often described as, you know, your life is like you're painting, and it's up to you to spend time paint it. Like, it could be anything you want it to be. You just gotta keep adding paint, keep refining it, keep adding detail. You can change it. I think that this is another kind of handy metaphor for how you interact with life. It's not like the Fool, which is the completely uncommitted, endless, opportunities, but there's no direction there, um, but ultimate potential. It's like, I think this card symbolizes the like perfectly realized potential, but it's not as rigid as the 10 cards that are like, here is your calling, here is you know, the Wheel of Fortune. It's like a destiny. It's like this kind of like a fixed thing, even though it's changing. It's the only constant is change, that kind of thing. Judgment, like another number 10 card. It's like this amazing activity, but nonetheless, it's you're being called, you're answering the call, you're pursuing something higher. There's still a type of stasis in that. I kind of see the world card as just being the ideal to strive for. I think it also I think it sets the pace for the interpretation of all the other cards. As far as I'm concerned, this largely, um, which contributes to my outlook on the tarot deck, as as being a roadmap for a journey where the you know the ideal is in the transitioning and growth from one card to another. I think all of the cards, when you look at them as experiences that you're kind of stuck on, that's generally the bad interpretation. It's like you want to look at each stage, uh, each archetypal experience that the cards symbolize as something to, you know, pay attention to, be mindful of, but also see it as just another step in this kind of dance of interacting with things. Um, but yeah, so the opportunity here, either when's the last time you dance? Have a nice little dance party. But then also consider that same kind of playful interaction with your environment. That could be a metaphor for living life in general, right? So some stuff to think about there. And yeah, acupuncture also. All right. Thanks for watching. Drop me a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to comment. Hashtag free reading if you would like to be entered into a weekly draw for a free one-on-one reading. Or also you can comment anything else if you just want to say hi. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care.